Hey everyone, my name is Kayla. Thank you for joining our online service today. We are now on week 3 of our series called Committed and Submitted, where we're learning about what it means to submit our lives to God. Today, Tyler is going to talk about living a life of service. We want to extend a warm welcome to anyone who is new here, and we want you to know that we would love to have you as a part of our Roots family. And hello again to our regulars. Take it away, Tyler.
Hey guys, over the last couple weeks, we've been going through a series called Committed and Submitted. And this is our third and final week, so I hope that you're ready. So there was one season of my life where I had to stay fully submitted. And I'm not talking about submitted to God, as we've been saying. That should be our whole lives. But I'm talking about fully submitted to other men in my life. You see, I was working in a church and I was in a relationship that became sexual. Then after the breakup, the sexual history became exposed. Once it was exposed, I lost my job, I lost my salary, my benefits, and quite honestly, I lost a lot of friendships as many didn't want anything to do with me anymore. I then went into a season of restoration to be back in church leadership. It ended up being a 13-month process where I met with 7 men who mentored me and spoke into my life. And I would grab coffee with 2 or 3 of them a week and talk about how life is going, and we would discuss how God had been working in my life and about any other things that I was working on. So these men had control over my life. They were the ones that decided when I could go back to a serving capacity in a church. They made sure that I wasn't dating in any inappropriate ways. They checked to make sure that I was consistently meeting with a couple of mentors a week. My life was basically under their control. And even at the very beginning, we had no idea how long the process of full restoration to pastoral leadership would be, but they were the ones who had control over that and if I could be trusted to be back in pastoral leadership. And I know many of you may be thinking, whoa, that sounds crazy. Why the heck would you ever go through that? Well, first, I had lost the trust of the church where I had been leading. So these men came into my life as a representative of the church to make sure that I was moving towards health. But the thing was about these men, they didn't step into my life to control me. They stepped into my life to help me. They wanted me to grow to my fullest potential. They wanted to see me thrive in my life. But they also knew that the only way that I could do that and get out of my self-destructive habits was if I submit to their leadership in my life. Throughout my time of meeting with them, they showed more that they cared about me and my spiritual life, not whether I served in church again or not. They spoke words that brought life and excitement for the future into my life. But here's what I learned throughout that season of full submission. As hard as that season was for me, it was also the season of the most growth for me. It was a season where God started to restructure my heart and my mind. Things that I used to be very stubborn about believing, I began to soften towards. Areas that were not submitted to Christ, I started to finally submit them to Him. As much as we may hate the word submission because it means that we have to give up control, submission really can change you. When you can actually submit yourself, then God starts to change things. He starts to change your heart towards His heart so that you love the things and the people that He loves. He starts to change your mind so that you start thinking of things that are of God and not of your own self-desires or will. I love that God does this. The more we spend time with God and get to know Him, and the more that we submit to His ways and His plan for us, the more we start to act like Him. And how does God act? Well, we see that answer through the life of Jesus. In a book written by one of Jesus' disciples named John, he records Jesus saying important words in John 10. Jesus says that if you know Jesus and listen to His words, then you will know the Father because He and the Father are one. So what did Jesus do? Well, Jesus had a life of serving others. He served the hurting and the broken, helping them heal and find freedom from their sickness and everything else that was holding them back. Jesus gave Himself for others so that they could be living the life that God was calling them to live. Now, if we are submitted to God and he starts to change our ways like him, that means that our hearts will start this drive to serve others, where we actually start to live like life is not about us, but about others around us. And not just serve our close friends. I mean, that's important too, but even strangers and even those who you really don't like the girl who called you a name or said something mean about you on social media, or the guy who left you just out. He didn't even invite you to something. Yeah, you got to be nice and serve them too. Jesus says in Luke 22:26, but among you it will be different. Those who are the greatest among you should take the lowest rank, and the leader should be like a servant. Now, serving takes something from us. What does a servant do? A servant takes orders from his or her master and does whatever they are told. Servants can't be lazy. If we're trying to be like Jesus, we need to be like a servant and work hard for him. We can't just be lazy and receive. We can't just come to church and feel like we receive some learning about God and then go on with our life. When we receive something, then we do something about it. Serving actually requires us to get off our butts and do something. When I talk about submitting to God throughout this series, it doesn't mean that when you submit to God, it will make your life so much easier. Yes, in your spiritual and your emotional life, it will, but in other areas, if you're truly submitted, then life might actually get harder. But even though it's harder, it will be more rewarding. But you may be saying, Tyler, I can totally serve those that are easy to serve, and I can especially serve those who give back to me, like I'll scratch your back, you scratch my back type things. But there's no way I can serve those who have hurt me. I won't go out of my way to make life easier for them. But when we look at Jesus' teaching, he talks about how we are to treat those who have hurt us, that we are to serve and love those who have hurt us even if they don't deserve it. Jesus says in Luke 6:32-36, if you love only those who love you, why should you get credit for that? Even sinners love those who love them. And if you do good only to those who do good to you, why should you get credit? Even sinners do that much. And if you lend money only to those who can repay you, why should you get credit? Even sinners will lend to other sinners for a full return. Love your enemies, do good to them, lend to them without expecting to be repaid. Then your reward from heaven will be very great, and you will truly be acting as children of the Most High. For he is kind to those who are unthankful and wicked. You must be compassionate just as your Father is compassionate. So Jesus is saying, I get that it's easy to love your best friends and your family. That doesn't make any separation between you and being a believer and someone else who is an unbeliever. But let me make things harder. Love those who have hurt you. That'll separate you. He says to give to your enemies without expecting anything in return. Give not to receive anything. Give because you want others to receive the blessing of Christ. And I remember something I said a lot when I was a freshman in high school. When somebody asked for money, I said, oh yeah, sure, but pay me back. And they were like, yeah, I got you. Or even when I kept a tally of how much my sister had borrowed from me, and I would say, hey, you still owe me $40. Like that makes human sense to us, right? I give to you, you give back the same amount. Then we don't feel taken advantage of. But Jesus is almost saying the opposite in the passage that we just read. We give because we want to be a blessing. We serve because we want to be a blessing, and not just to our friends, but to those who we really don't quite like being around. So when we submit to Christ, then our lives look different because we don't expect anything in return from anyone. Whether it's money, some sort of service, or whatever, we give because we want to feel the joy of giving. We serve because we want others to feel the blessing of Christ through our service. One of Jesus' disciples, Peter, he wrote this statement in one of his letters to the churches, and this is in 1 Peter 4:10. God has given each of you a gift from his great variety of spiritual gifts. Use them well to serve one another. I love this verse because it's so true. Every single one of you has a gift or even gifts. And guess what? Your gift is going to be different than my gift. It's going to be different than the last person that you just texted. They're going to have a different gift than you. Or maybe the person who may be sitting beside you, or the random stranger that you walk by on the sidewalk. God created us all very different from each other. And we all have different gifts that he gave us. We all have something that we can offer this world. So does Peter say to use your gifts to make your life better and to make it on top? No. He says to use your gifts to serve one another. If you're someone who really has one special gift, use it to serve others. If you have multiple gifts and you're like a jack of all trades but master of none, then use those gifts to serve others. Whatever gift that you have, God placed it there, not for you to further your name or your status, but to serve those who are around you, the ones who are easy to serve and the ones who are hard to serve. And honestly, when you serve with the right motives, your faith in God grows stronger. You start to learn his ways and you keep wanting to do it. Your heart starts to look more like his and you become more submitted to Christ when you serve. And there are some statistical facts about what happens with those who serve versus those who don't serve. Over my years of doing youth ministry, I started to notice something. Many high school students in the youth group, by the time that they got into college, they started to fall away from the church and their faith. And statistics even say that 7 out of 10 high school students who go to youth group will fall away from their faith by the time that they get to college. And I've seen that in my own youth groups. Not everyone fell away, but many did. And it breaks my heart. But what I notice is that the ones who fell away did not lay a foundation of service. They didn't take ownership of getting involved and giving of themselves. Those that fell away, their faith was about what they could get out of church. Was the worship good enough? Or was the worship my style? Or were the messages engaging enough? And did it actually apply to me? Or did the messages agree with my current lifestyle? To those who ended up falling away, it was all about what they could get. Church was about them. But those that served in kids ministry or the worship team, those who actually gave their money regularly, whether it was just a tithe, it was just a gift, those that served on serve days, those that served in opportunities to give to the needy, those are the ones who stuck around and had a faith that was strong. And why is that? Because I believe that serving is a biblical mandate. I believe it's part of the foundation of what faith is. It is humbling ourselves and putting others first. But serving is a way that will help you continually stay submitted to Christ and his words. Remember, Christ gave us a blueprint on how we should live and treat others in the Bible. And in order for us to submit our minds and our actions to Christ, we need to actually get to know who we are submitting to. We need to not just read the Bible, but actually do what it says. Luke 6:47, it says, "As for everyone who comes to me and hears my words and puts them into practice, I will show you what they are like. They are like a man building a house who dug down deep and laid the foundation on rock. When a flood came, the torrent struck that house but could not shake it because it was well built. But the one who hears the words and does not put them into practice is like a man who built a house on the ground without a foundation. The moment the torrent struck that house, it collapsed and its destruction was complete." Jesus' words to us have the power to transform our lives. We don't do the work to try to transform our own lives, but he does the work in us to transform our lives. That means we don't need to work and work and work and work to try to get to be in God's graces. It's just a quiet submission to Jesus and his words. We hear his words and we do what he says. It's following him in the small ways. It's loving others well. It's loving Jesus well. And most of all, it's saying no to yourself and saying a full yes to Jesus. Luke 9:23 says, Jesus said to everyone, all who want to come after me must say no to themselves, take up their cross daily and follow me. And that's what serving others is. It's denying yourself and putting others first in the name of Jesus. So how do we start to serve Jesus by serving others? Number one, find a way to serve somebody every day. Serving others is not some big thing that you have to do. You don't have to go on a big mission trip to actually love others that way, the way that Jesus asks us to love and serve others. In fact, it's actually better that you start small before you even go on a big mission trip or service opportunity. Because what you're doing is starting to say no to yourself consistently and putting others first when you start with the small things. Start at home. Start with a parent. Maybe instead of them doing laundry for you, you take a shift without being asked. Maybe it's actually putting your dishes away, and whatever dishes are left in the sink, you put those away as well. Maybe it's doing some yard work, or maybe it's blocking out 30 minutes of your day to actually hang out with your mom or your dad, or both of them. It could mean serving a younger sibling by playing a game with them when they need some attention. Or maybe it's not leaving a mess in the bathroom after you're done using it. Or it could be serving those in your friendship circle by helping them with their homework, or being there when they are hurting, or simply just allowing them to talk about themselves instead of you trying to tell them everything that is going on in your life. Find one small way to serve those around you every day without expecting anything in return. And I say every day because it's hard to make it a habit when you're sporadic. When you are able to serve on a daily basis, then it creates a habit. And the habit leads to you looking more like Jesus by the way you serve others. Number two, schedule a time to serve every week. Not only should we serve in small ways on a daily basis, find a time at least once a week where you schedule yourself to be out in the community serving. This could be serving in Roots on Tuesdays or Wednesdays. It could be serving with kids on Sunday mornings. Or it could be serving at Food Share on Thursday afternoons here at the church. Or it could be some other area that God has laid specifically on your heart. Do something that you have to physically go to serve. Yes, it's good to serve in small ways when you're at home and with your friends, but people in the community need to see Jesus' love through your service. And number three, don't serve alone. And here's the great news. You don't have to do all of this serving stuff alone. Find a team of people that you want to make a difference with. This could be a best friend. It could be your life group. It could even be just your family. Find a team to serve with. So why do we serve with a team? Because it's more fun. When you enjoy the people that you're serving around, you're more likely going to want to continue to serve. Not just because it's more fun, but you now have accountability and someone to encourage you to go out and serve with them. Great friendships are built with those who serve together. And I hope you can remember that when we submit our lives to Jesus, he starts to spur our hearts towards loving and serving others, because that's what Jesus was all about. He didn't come to the wealthy and hang with them. He came for the sick, the poor, the hurting, and the broken. So I pray that as you commit and submit your life to Jesus, that he starts to do a wonderful transforming work in your heart, that he softens your heart to his Holy Spirit and towards the people that he places in front of you. So let me pray. Father, I just thank you so much for giving us such a great example with your son, Jesus, sending him on this earth, and the way that he treated and loved those who were hurting and broken and less fortunate. And so, God, I pray that we can start to learn to emulate that, to replicate that, and to start serving others around us. And that we can say less of me, more of you. God, help us find small ways to serve. Help us find big ways to serve. Provide opportunities for us to be a light into the world so we can be a blessing for other people. You are so good to us, Jesus, and we pray this in your name. Amen. Awesome. Thanks, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this Committed and Submitted series. God bless you. We'll see you later.
Thanks, Tyler. That was awesome. I hope you were encouraged to serve others by following Christ's example. Sometimes it isn't what we want to do, but serving others shows others the love of Christ, and it allows Him to work in our hearts. It's a win-win. Now, please take a moment to fill out the Connect card linked in the description. This way, we can stay connected with you guys and pray for you throughout the week. If you want to take any of the next steps, you can fill it out there as well, and we will contact you. You can also follow us on Instagram or TikTok, which are also linked in the description. Have a great week. Bye!